So, as a historian, let me ask you for advice. What advice would you give on interviewing world leaders, whether it's people who are no longer here, some of the people we've been talking about, Hitler, Stalin, Mao, or people that are still here, Putin, Zelensky, Trump, Kamala Harris, Netanyahu, Xi Jinping? As a historian, like, what is it possible to have an interesting conversation? Maybe as a thought experiment, what kind of conversation would you like to have with Hitler in the 1930s or Stalin in the 1920s?
Well, first of all, I mean, the answer is very clear. I would never presume to advise you about interviewing world leaders and prominent people, because the roster that you've accumulated is just astonishing. So, but I know what I might aim for, and that is, I think, in historical analysis, in trying to understand the role of a particular leader, the more one understands about their prior background and formative influences, the better a fix I think one gets on the question of what are their expectations? What is in German, there's a beautiful word for this. The Germans managed to mash together several words into one even better word. And in German, it's Erwartungshorizont, the horizon of expectation. So in the case of figures like Churchill or Hitler, their experience of World War I shaped their actions in World War II. Their values were shaped in their childhood. Is there a way of engaging with someone you're interviewing, even obliquely, that gives a view in on their sense of what the future might hold? And I mean that obviously such people are expert at being guarded and not being pinned down, but the categories in which they're thinking, a sense of what their own ethical grounding might be, or their ethical code that gives hints to their behavior. It gets said, and again, it's a cliche because it's true, that one of the best measures of a person, especially a leader, is how they treat people from whom they don't expect anything. Are they condescending? Are they, on the contrary, fundamentally interested in another person, even if that person can't help them or be used in some way? Speaking of prominent world leaders to interview, there's Napoleon. Napoleon psychologically must have been a quite amazing person to make a bid for mastery of Europe and then already thinking about the mastery of the world. But contemporaries who met Napoleon said that it was very disturbing to talk with him, because meeting with him one-on-one revealed that he could talk to you, but look like he was looking right through you, as if you were not fully real. You were more in the nature of a character on a chessboard. And for that reason, some of them called Napoleon the master of the sightless stare. So if you're talking with a world leader and he or she has a sightless stare, that's probably a bad sign. But there might be other inadvertent clues or hints about the moral compass or the future expectations of a leader that emerge in one of your wonderful conversations.
Yeah, you put it brilliantly in several ways, but the moral compass, sneaking up to the full nuance and complexity of the moral compass. And one of the ways of doing that is looking at the various horizons in time about their vision of the future. I imagine it's possible to get Hitler to talk about the future of the Third Reich and to see in ways like what he actually envisions that as, and similar with Stalin. But of course, funny enough, I believe those leaders would be easier to talk to because there's nothing to be afraid of in terms of political competition. Modern leaders are a little bit more guarded because they have to they have opposition often to contend with.
Constituencies.
And constituencies.